solstice to everyone who is celebrating the longest night of winter in the Northern Hemisphere. Tonight, I'm going to read about the winter solstice celebration from the Huntsman of Adamos. Uriath climbed the outside wall of the winter castle, as he often did as a boy when he wanted to avoid his parents. He hopped over the 3 balconies and entered his room rather than going through the foyer. Quietly, he went down the hall to his father's study above the library. "Sing another one, my lady. It sounded so lovely while we were skating," the healer Orin begged, as Fleur and Anna entered. O'Shea prodded with a voice much higher than his usual deep timbre. "Yes, Lady Fleur, you must sing. It is tradition." Uriath settled himself into a chair in his father's study above to listen. "I'm afraid the only songs I know will make everyone sad," Fleur made the excuse as she gave O'Shea a look. Prince Arxus stared at her, then disputed her claim. "You're one of the happiest people I know. How can they all be sad?" Fleur shrugged, answering, "Perhaps another time, my prince." Uriath shook his head from above as they continued to harass her as they used to do him, until finally his mother Mina intervened. "So you must sing, little flower." "Fine, fine," Fleur huffed. "Give me a moment to translate them." She felt Lord Adamos smile at her. It was the first bit of magic she had enjoyed in so long, and she wondered if it was her magic or one of the other oracles in the room sharing their magic with her. So she rose from her place and went to stand next to the fire. A singer lost long ago, named Enya, eons before this time when the Fleur's birth world was harvested by the devourer. She rearranged a few words to fit their world because December, like her real name Daisy, was a word that would not exist for thousands of years. Cold as the northern wind on midwinter's morning, cold is the cry that rings from this far distant shore. As she sang through the songs of longing and sorrow, she poured out her own emotions through her voice. "Winter lies before me, you're so far away. In the darkness of my dreaming, the light of you will stay." Suddenly, she realized she was singing the song she sang at Calith's funeral, when she had stood before the entirety of Aetheria and vowed she would grieve no more, had seen the grief breaking her. To the rest of Aetheria and the human survivors of the terror in the colonies, she was a pillar in times of the future war. She maintained the facade until the last battle. She stayed for the celebration of victory. Then she left to heal her harvested birth world, only coming home to get her children and celebrate Karstein's coronation before leaving Aetheria for decades. If she failed to stop the shadows in this time, here before the cataclysm, those events might never get the chance to happen. Where are you these moments? Only in my dreams. You're missing, but you're always a heartbeat away from me. The words about being alone and seeking a lost love flowed like blood from her hemorrhaging soul, and to soothe herself, she started singing Urieth's song, the song she sang to him to soothe his sleep after he came out of his thousands of years of imprisonment in the dark dust. But it wasn't now Urieth's song, it was her future Yuri's song, the one who was her friend and didn't hate her. May it be an evening star shines bright on you. May it be when darkness falls, your heart will be true. You walk a lonely road. Oh, how far you roam from home. Suddenly, she could feel Urieth through the Oracle Yelamina's magic, standing above her, listening intently, yearning. So she poured her love into the chorus, trying to give him hope. She could feel him considering her words, but also his hatred and his hope. Upstairs, listening to the song, Urieth felt like she was singing it to him, trying to encourage him through word and voice. It felt like she was singing to the deepest part of his soul, to the longing he always carried within him. He rejected her sorcery. He reminded himself she was a dark magic wielder, but part of him questioned how so much joy and beauty could come from one shadowed. It hurt his heart because he had chosen his honor. He had chosen to hate her, and she had chose to love him on the longest night, on the eve of light returning. Halfway through the stanza, Fleur had a terrible thought. What if Urieth's amnesia in the future had worn off like Karstein's did, and he remembered when she returned home? Her heart ached painfully at the thought of her Urieth in the future hating her, as the Urieth that was here did. As she let the verse die away, she wanly, clearing her throat against its sudden tightness. I think my voice needs to rest. She sat back down and picked up her cup, considering her premonition. Her mind pondered the idea Shads had suggested, that they all remembered. As Cinna and Zerini talked about the music of Zelusia and how the festival for this night was one of debauchery and blood sacrifices instead of one of music and family, Fleur rose slowly to hide the tears threatening. My tea is cold. I think I'll go to bed now. Good night. Do you want me to guide you back to your room, Lady Fleur, or prepare you a healing bath? Orin offered, but she shook her head, not trusting her voice, and left quickly, almost running up the stairs. Why did Lady Fleur flee like that? Prince Axis asked, concerned. Taking a deep breath, Zerini explained. In future Aetheria, the day of light returning is a time of joy, as it is here. She was sealed to her late husband on that day, but later, as a prisoner of the Umbra Cruar, she was more than likely bled for a blood altar and assaulted on the night of darkness. We know they cut a child from her body. If it lived, it was probably sacrificed to the devourer on this night. Prince Axis was clearly horrified. Orin, the gentle healer, was so shaken that Cinna embraced him. Abriath just nodded, adding, during the war, many more mothers and elder siblings than usual fled with small children to our lines as the night of darkness approached. The pits of the temple city were filled with the bones and corpses of the innocents. Were silent for several minutes. Then Yelena spoke. I do not think it is only that. The second to the last song was the one she sang at her husband's memorial, and I believe the last song was a message for Urieth. Do you agree, my eldest? They all looked up to see Urieth standing at the rail of Adamos's office above. Whether it was or not, mother, only time will tell. Adamos raised an eyebrow at his eldest. Could you not feel that it was sung with love and imbued with hope? I am not a father oracle. I'm only a huntsman, Urieth reminded gruffly. As he turned on his heel, he left. Zarini leaned into Abria's chest. Will he ever accept her love because of her magic? Abriath simply kissed his sealed one's temple because he had no answer for her other than to say, my brother is a fool. Love is the most important thing to give or receive in the beliefs of our people, and Urieth is refusing it out of spite and pride. It made Abriath want to punch him, but since it was a holiday, he decided not to fight with his brother. And that's it. Just a little excerpt about the celebration of the Day of Light returning. I hope you enjoyed the reading, and I hope you have a lovely holidays.